Are you struggling with the testing section on the comment application and don't know how to advise your student? Hey there, parents and families. My name is Andrew Hoffman, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to continue with the comment application. Last week, we started the comment application, and this is the second in a long series that walks you through certain sections of the comment app. If you haven't had a chance to watch that video, click the link above and watch that now before coming back to this video. Today's video is all about the education section and the testing section. Let's dive in. Now it's going to ask for current or most recent secondary high school. So you're going to indicate your high school. This is a keyword search, so it can be a little challenging, especially if you go to like Central High School, for example. There's a lot of Central High Schools. You're going to indicate when you started high school. So you're going to indicate when you started high school, the date of entry. I actually started high school in August 1999. You're going to indicate if this is a boarding school or not, and if you live on campus, and obviously that's not the case for everyone, so we'll say no, but you can indicate that. And then you're going to say your intended graduation date if you haven't graduated already, and some students do use the common application who have already graduated. It's going to ask if you've had any disruption. And so did you graduate early? Did you graduate late? Did you take time off? Did you take a gap year? And then you can indicate the details of that change in progression, for example. So if you're graduating early, like in December, you have to indicate like when, your official graduation is. And you will also indicate that you are graduating early for specific reasons. And this goes directly to the admissions office. And so it's really important that you're writing to the admissions officer in this little box and you're as clear as possible. Now, we're not going to say that we graduated early, but I was just showing that to you. And then if you did attend any other high schools, maybe you transferred after your freshman year in high school from one school to another, you can also indicate that you attended another school and choose that school here. And then if you're doing that, you would indicate the actual dates and details why you left one school to another. It could be because my parent changed jobs or any number of reasons. And then it's going to ask about coursework at colleges and universities. So if you had a dual program with your high school or you participated in a summer program, credit awarded directly by the college, you're going to indicate the dates that you attended that college. If you got a degree, a lot of students in dual enrollment also receive an associate's degree, for example. Now it's going to ask about grades in class, so I'm going to say 400 students in my class. There is an official class rank here. You can indicate that. We can pause actually here. You can also indicate that that is a decile ranking or an exact ranking. So you have lots of options here. Every school does this different. That's why there's so many options. Some of those are unweighted rankings or weighted rankings. Sometimes you look at your transcript and it says what your unweighted rank is and what your weighted rank is. It really doesn't matter what you put here, right? Because the admission officer is going to have your transcript in front of them. They're also going to have a report called the school report that's completed by your college counselor or school counselor. And so know that if you put your weighted ranking and your transcript says unweighted and weighted, just know that the admissions office will use it however they want to use it. So there is no wrong answer here. If one is more favorable to you and you wanted to put that, that's totally fine. No one's going to really question that. It's also going to ask about GPA scale reporting and then your cumulative GPA. So some students are in 5.0 scales or 6.0 scales. Sometimes that's weighted, sometimes that's not weighted. So again, you can indicate that here. And then we're going to go through current or most recent year courses. So this takes a little bit longer, I will say. You're going to indicate this academic year how many courses you're taking. So if you're taking 6, for example, it's on a semesterly system. Obviously, you have some other choices here. For the simplicity of this video, we'll just say it's a yearly course, so it doesn't change by semester. And we'll indicate that we're taking calculus, and it's actually an AP calculus class. You could also indicate if it's AB, for example, or BC. And then you have to indicate in a drop-down menu what type of class this is. You can see there's lots of options there. This is a full year course, so this is the second one, English, AP English. Again, it's an AP. Again, it's full year. And then you see course number 3. And so we'll just continue on with this. Now, if you had any very strange academic course selections, for example, you just couldn't indicate, like maybe your school has a very different level that you wanted to offer, you can put that in the additional information section of the comment application. That might be another way to say, hey, I know that you see my senior year schedule that actually shifted mid-quarter because we had a substitute and, that sort of thing. So if there's any unusual or unique circumstances around your senior year, you can also indicate that. So we have a mix of honors, we have a mix of AP courses here. Now, interestingly, you can also preview this information. So this is the very specific page that we're previewing. You can see your current or most recent year courses, and that's a full year. So you can just make sure this is exactly how the admission office is going to see your comment application. This is how it's loaded into, usually they use Slate, and it's a reader. It's an online reader. We used to print these off back in the day, but now it's all online, and you can actually see the preview. And you can click that little button for any page when going through the comment application. So if you're like, I don't know how this is going to render, I don't know like how this is going to show up, you can actually hit that button at any time. Super duper helpful. So go ahead and continue here. Now it's going to ask about honors and awards. Do you want to report any honors related to academic achievements? And I got the Best Bobcat Award. Not the very best title, I will say, because we don't know if it's a citizenship award or something else, right? I got it in 11th grade. I'm actually going to be like, oh no, like I don't think that that's clear. So I'm actually going to say it's a citizenship award because again, that's going to render on the PDF that way. And it's a school recognition. Now, if I had another recognition, I could indicate that here. So if I got accepted to a fly-in program, Discover Swarthmore, and I wanted to indicate that, and you should always do that if you got accepted to a fly-in program. I highly recommend that. Maybe not everyone would, but I definitely would. And it's a national recognition because it was a national selection process in my 12th grade. And then my third title is I lettered in academics and athletics, and that was maybe in 10th and 11th grade. It was a school recognition. And again, you can continue adding these, right? So if you have school-based awards, state, regional, national, even international awards, you want to indicate that here. That certainly is part of holistic review. Let's say I got a best in category for marketing in DECA, and that was at the regional conference, and I would indicate that. And then it's going to ask about community-based organizations. Do you work with any college access organizations? Actually, let's go back and preview that so you can see what the honors and awards are going to look like on that page. So community-based organizations are college access organizations that provide you free assistance in the application process. I actually work for one called Matriculate, and we work with high-achieving low-income students going through the college admissions process. So I could indicate Matriculate here. I could indicate who my advisor or mentor is, their name, their email address. The college may actually email with this person, and so it's not required that you indicate there's a name and email address, but if you do have one, it's super helpful because colleges can also send information to your advisor. Then it's going to ask about future plans. So again, I best describe myself as a student applying in 25 or 26. And I want to go to law school, and I indicate that, and I want to be in policymaking and government. So you can indicate that here on the preview. So let's just pause here. And why does this matter? So this does matter in holistic review, especially selective college admissions. College admission officers want to know what you're at least thinking about for future plans. You don't have to know that right now, of course. You don't have to say that I definitely want to go to medical school because we all change our minds. However, I think it's important, especially in the world of STEM, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics, that if you, let's say you are indicated, I want to major in philosophy and Greek. For a lot of those majors, you don't actually need to take mathematics, depending on the college or university. But if you are like, I want to major in philosophy and Greek, but I want to become a medical doctor, and that's listed in my future plans, then the admissions office will typically look at your transcript and say, okay, so what was the highest level math class this student chose, and what's their progression in mathematics, and what grades did they get? And if you have poor grades in math, that might be a question mark. They might say, well, wait a second, is this student set up for success in college? If they don't have the math curriculum that sets them up for success, and they are indicating an interest, even if it's not listed on their major, maybe you're not putting pre-med on your major list, that can still play a role. So just be very careful when it comes to future plans. We want you to be authentic, but at the same time, know that this is sometimes a selective admissions process, and admission officers are going to go through this with a fine-tooth comb. So you just want to be very careful when it comes to a lot of these sections. Now we'll head over to tests taken. And so it's going to ask us about ACT, SAT. If you're an international student, you might have subject tests as well, IB test, TOEFL, which is an English language proficiency examination. And I'm going to indicate yes that I have taken these. And it's going to ask which test do I want to report. And so in this example, I'm going to report my ACT tests. I'm going to report AP subject tests, right? So I took AP psychology, for example. And then it has a specific section for international applicants. So if you're listening as an international student, it's asking, is promotion within your educational system based upon standard leaving examinations given at the end of your secondary school? This obviously, hundreds of countries out there and so many different systems. For students who, might be an international student but living in the United States, attending a United States high school, the answer is going to probably be no here. But if you are an international applicant, and let's say you're taking A-levels, or you're taking the West African examination, or you're taking the French bac, or the German Abitur, or something like that, this is where you might say yes, and now they're going to ask you more questions about that. And so you're going to have to report, if you've already taken those examinations, what those examination results are. If you haven't taken them, but you have predicted examination grades in some countries and systems offer predicts, you can also indicate those here. So since I said yes to the ACT question and I've taken it once, I'm going to indicate what my highest composite score is. If you've taken it a number of times, you're going to have to fill this out each and every time. And then it's going to ask for the date of the highest composite score. It's going to ask for the highest math score as well. So you should have your testing report in front of you. You shouldn't just be guessing here, because you're going to have to provide this, especially to a school that's not test optional or you're not applying test optional. And then it's going to ask for science. Science is actually optional at this point. Not every college is going to require that you indicate that you took that examination. So every college is different. You'll have to ask that question. And then it'll ask for English and reading as well. And then it does ask, would you like to report an ACT writing score? Because that's optional as well. And then if you expect to sit for the ACT again, you can indicate the date by which you're going to sit for that ACT. But I'm going to say no. Now it's going to ask about AP subject tests, and there is a limit here. So again, if you're taking more, and some students do take more than the limit, you can put that in the additional information section. Date taken or planned, I took it in May 24. I took AP Psychology. You can indicate what score you got. We can just pause here for a second and talk a little bit about scores, but you should obviously do more research on this. I actually covered this in my Parents' Ultimate College Admissions course. A 3 on an AP examination is passing. Sometimes a 3 is phenomenal based on your school or school district. Other times it might just be average for your school. So I can't always say you have to report X, right? You don't have to report any of this unless the college creates a policy saying if you took an AP examination, you must report your score. There are very, very few colleges out there that require that. It is possible. And so if that's the requirement, you have to indicate that. If there is no requirement, though, you own these scores and you get to choose what you report. It's a no-brainer to report 4s and 5s. Absolute no-brainer. You should always report a 4 or a 5. Any admissions officer, any independent counselor, school counselor worth their salt is going to tell you that. The 3 is the question mark. I would lean toward reporting a 3 in most circumstances because it is passing. You might get credit for it in college, you might not, but I would usually lean on that. Now, you might not feel comfortable doing that. Maybe it's your only 3 on your examination and you just don't want to report it. That's okay. When I was an admissions officer, we would talk about this and train on this. Not every student can afford to take the AP examinations. And so we would never make the assumption if there's an absence of an AP examination, they are just hiding it and they're not reporting it, because that wasn't always true. So just know that in holistic review, they might have a conversation about you not reporting a score, but I think the very best admission officers are not going to hold this against you. So I got a 4 on the AP Psych exam. I actually got a 3 in high school, but let's just pretend for now. And I'm planning to take in May 25, the English language composition. Since I haven't taken it yet, I'm going to continue because I didn't get a score. I hope this video is super helpful as your student and your family navigates the Common Application. In next week's video, we're going to cover extracurricular activities, the college essay or personal statement, as well as the additional information section of the Common App. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share with your friends. Until next time, good luck, and we'll see you in the next video.